Hey guys, Lorraine back with you with another video. This video is actually going to be a product review. Um, I'm going to be using the Simon Says stamp You Have My Heart set, and I'm going to be trying out the Arteza watercolor pencils. My friend actually bought these for me. I live in Texas, and during the really bad winter weather, we lost power for a while, and we didn't have heat because of that. So I was lucky enough to have a decorative gas fireplace in my living room, which was truly meant to be decorative. And we had to pump that bad boy up and push it to its ultimate capacity to survive. It was pretty rough here in Texas, but we made it. And in making it and in pushing that decorative gas fireplace up, we wound up having a lot of smoke damage and soot damage. Even though the flue was open, it just wound up really affecting everything. And a lot of the stuff in my craft room was coated with soot, and a lot of it was unable to be cleaned. So I was venting on Facebook, like people do, right? And I actually had my friend reach out to me and be like, hey, I would like to do this for you. I'd like to buy you some stuff. And this was one of the two things that she had bought me. One of the other things was actually the Arteza watercolor pan set. So I'll be trying that out as well. But I did want to go ahead and try out these watercolor pencils. This is the first time actually I have used any of the Arteza products like this. So what I did was I just took one of the stamps from the set, I threw it in my MISTI, and I used some Distress ink in Antique Linen, which is a really good ink to use when you're trying to do some no-line watercoloring. And I stamped it on some, I think I'm using Strathmore watercolor paper, possibly, or Canson. It might be Canson. I just stamped it on using the MISTI, and I'm going to go to town. So I picked out a couple of colors that I wanted to work with, and I've got my brush and my water, and I started with tracing each of the images. And what I noticed in using these pencils is they are exceptionally soft, very, very soft. And as you can see there, I wound up breaking my point numerous times. You don't see it because the video is edited, but you pause it, you get up, you go sharpen your pencils again, and it's like every time I sharpened the pencil, it would break. Now, I'm vaguely heavy-handed, but not ultimately heavy-handed, right? I wanted a nice line, so I traced relatively firmly, but I wasn't pushing down to the point where I was deliberately trying to break the pencil or gouge the paper. And obviously I knew I was working with a pencil, so I was tracing it, I guess, with the same pressure in which I would write with a writing pencil, if that makes sense. And they just broke every single time. In fact, I found that I did better with a more blunt tip than a sharp tip, if that makes sense, which kind of confused me. But whatever, it is what it is. I like their blendability. They spread out very nicely with the water. When you add the water, they spread. They don't clump up. They off camera, I was blending some colors on top of each other, and they blended very, very nicely. With these flowers here, I was just doing some very basic coloring, just one color. I did do some layers of the same color, but I didn't do more than one color per image. Again, this was just basic, just starting, just seeing what they would do. Going from brush to tip, as you see me do there, they were very nice. I actually preferred that a little bit more than writing on the paper, tracing the flower and then trying to blend it out that way. To me, going brush to tip is a little bit more like watercolors. Using a watercolor pencil is not a medium that I'm overly familiar with. It's not something I use on a regular basis. I've used it before a couple of times, but it's not, my go-to medium. So this was, a play session for me. This was I'm going to see how this works. I'm going to figure this out, and I might as well just film it. Overall, I really like the pencils. They come in a huge range of colors. I think it was the 72 that I got. The very first thing I did, as you saw in a picture a little bit earlier in the video, is I swatched all my colors out. They blend out really nice. I just overall like them. I think they're pretty good. I would definitely replace them when I use them up. I would definitely buy more, and I would recommend them. So I'm just going through here, and I'm trying to do one area and then move on and do another, not necessarily next to each other. I don't want to smudge them, although you are going to see there's going to be a part here where I do that one little flower, I'm sorry, that one little leaf that I had stamped in the corner. And I don't know why I chose to do that before I finished the rest of the images, but I decided to go ahead and do that and immediately put my hand in it while it was still wet and smudged the heck out of it. I had absolutely no intent to use this image for anything. This literally was, I'm stamping this, I'm playing with these, I just want to see what they're capable of, I want to see what I'm capable of, I just want to play. I had no expectations, no hopes as to, I'm going to die cut this is going to be perfect, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a card. No. In fact, I was like, I don't even want to make a card, I really just want to paint. I just want to paint. I really actually even had to convince myself to make the video because I was like, oh, I don't even want to deal with the camera right now. I just want to do this. But like, no, I'll go ahead and I'll do some sort of a review because I've seen a lot of people use Arteza products. And I've purchased Arteza products for my daughter. She paints. So we have tons of Arteza acrylics in the house. I don't use them. She loves them. But I figured I would go ahead and try some of their products that I would use in my card making. I did not use my heat tool to dry any of this, so it either air dried in between video clips, paint some, pause the camera, walk away, come back, or it would just dry as I was going from one section to the other. I did not use a whole lot of water. In fact, I put it in the water and then I tapped it off onto my towel. So I used small amounts of water. It's not an overly saturated brush. I did not want it to bleed. I did not want it to run. Typically when I watercolor, I'm a very bad watercolor person. I mean, I love doing it, but I am by no means an expert. As in with my Copic coloring, I think the more I'm doing it, I'm getting better, but I like to cheat. And I think I do a better job with my watercolor when I stamp it and heat emboss it, because then obviously it gives you that little well and it contains your water, because I noticed that when I'm actually watercoloring out of a pan, I'm very heavy-handed with the water. So I was deliberately trying to be light-handed with the amount of water on my brush. And ultimately, I think I like what I wound up getting with this finished image. I feel I got more of that watercolory look when I blended from my tracing lines, let it dry a little bit, and then went back with a more wet brush from tip to paper, like you see me doing there. I definitely was able to get more depth, more layers that way. And I do believe that that's probably the best way to do it. You wouldn't want to color back over that image directly from the pencil, because then you're going to have those lines and you most likely would not get them blended out. again, I am by no means an expert, but to me, logically, I don't think you would want to recolor back on that wet image. And I wound up die cutting this image out, and I did make a card. It was very spur of the moment. It was very last minute. Actually, I wound up taking another image from the stamp set, the heart wreath, and I was just playing with that same color combo. I was just like, oh, I'll just try this. Keep going with these. And that image was exceptionally tiny. It was very small to paint, which I did not prefer. And both of those images were actually on their way to the trash can. I happened to drop this particular image on top of that one, and I turned to pick it up, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, I could turn that into a wreath. And that's what I actually wound up doing in my final card, which I will show you a picture of at the end. I wound up making a wreath card, and I really liked the card. So the final card I am very, very happy with, but the problem I was having with this particular image is that when I put the die on and I cut it out, it was off center. So there was a lot of white space on one side, on the underside of the image, and actually some of the line was cut off on the top. It did not cut correctly. I don't know if the image was not correct when it got applied to the Misty. When it wasn't stretched out, I didn't manipulate it. I just put it on the paper, closed my Misty lid. However, it did not line up with the stamp correctly. And I actually attempted several more times to just, rough stamp an image, die cut it, rough stamp an image, die cut it, without watercoloring any of them. And I still could not line the stamped image up to the die. I even die cut a piece of paper first, applied it into my Misty, and then stamped on it that way, and it was still semi-off. So I think this might just be one of those sets, and I've run into them periodically. They just don't line up well with the dies, which is a real bummer because it's a beautiful image. And specifically with the heart wreath in this particular stamp set, it cuts out the inside, which I love. I really wish a lot more companies would do that with their wreath images, would actually cut out that inside instead of just the outside of the circle. It actually cuts out the inside. That's just one of my things. I just love it. But I wound up actually liking the image when I accidentally threw them on top of each other, ready to throw them away. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to make this card and I'm not going to do anything with it. But I liked how it turned out. And as I was photographing it to include the picture in this video, my 19-year-old daughter came out. She's like, I love that. Make me one. And so I'm like, here, have it. I gave it to her. Oh, yeah, that's my life. Anyway, there's the image as it was die cut. You can see there's definitely some error there. And then it'll go ahead and show you my card. If you like my videos, guys, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell so you can get notified, and I will see you back for the next video. Take care. Bye, guys.